Hello, and thanks for listening to your SCAMLE's exclusive podcast, Explore Ed. On these episodes, you will enjoy exclusive interviews with some names you recognize and some people you'll be meeting for the first time. In each of our episodes, we will ask you to think and grow and reflect as a professional educator. If you aren't yet a member of SCAMLE, we encourage you to join today. More information can be found at www.scamle.org. There, find out more information about membership, conferences, and professional development opportunities. And don't forget to join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson, and I serve as the Professional Development Director for your SCAMLE. I am an educator of 21 years and a past SCAMLE president as well. In this episode of the Explore Ed podcast, I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Christy McIntyre. Dr. McIntyre was unassuming, charming, and completely disarming. I enjoyed being able to laugh with her, to be honest. Sometimes the most difficult lessons to carry with us are the ones that ask us to control what we can control and to maintain our perspective. Everyone travels through the universe doing the best they can. Teachers try regularly to outdo themselves and exceed expectations that have been created many times by folks on completely different paths than they are. Being realistic can be pretty painful, but the people we most need to demonstrate grace to is ourselves. Please help me welcome Dr. Christy McIntyre to the podcast.
We are here this morning with Dr. Christy McIntyre from Camden Middle School. I want to welcome you aboard, Dr. McIntyre. So first of all, welcome aboard, and then I'm going to go ahead and say all the nice things about you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, good morning.
We're so happy to have Dr. McIntyre with us. Courtney Quinters from Richland 2. Here's what she said to us after watching Dr. McIntyre and meeting with Dr. McIntyre at the conference. She said, Dr. Christy McIntyre was absolutely phenomenal. Her session on how to save sanity was career-changing. She used the term career-changing, friends. So here's, I want to go ahead and let Dr. McIntyre introduce herself to us, and then we got to find out. We got to find out more about what we missed. So, Dr. McIntyre, where do you work? Who are you? Where are you from? What are your passions right now? What's going on?
Well, right now I am an algebra teacher in Kershaw County School District, but I am born and raised Yankee, so I'm from up north. My family, my husband and I are the first to leave our small steel mill town in generations. So we came south to kind of get rid of the snow, and now we live here in Kershaw County, and we have 5 children, and one is in medical school, and the other 4 are in Kershaw County School District with us. So it's a crazy life.
So I'm digging, Christy, and you know, a lot of people think, well, she's going to talk to us about self-care and how to save your sanity is like taking extra personal days and saying no more, but it doesn't sound like that's your forte. I mean, you teach pre-algebra, you teach Algebra 1, you're a Beta Club sponsor, you're certified in lots of different things, CAME certified educator, all these things. You just said you have 5 kids. Yes, yeah. 5. I can count totally. So how can our listeners save their sanity and work in education?
I think that you have to remember that we're human. You have to remember that there's an insanity to it all that you have to just be accepting of. And I think that when I come across students who come in and say, you know, look, my sister got sick last night and then we had to go to the hospital and my mom told me to do the homework in the car, but I couldn't. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've had a situation sort of like that. But, you know, and I think that it goes with understanding too. I just try to be as real as possible. I think that for me, when I'm in a classroom, I want to know, the first thing I do is I find out who all my children are. All my students are my children. And I find out all their backgrounds. And for the most part, there's no surprises when they come in with an excuse or something like that. But I also have all these things going on at home. You know, we have dance and cheer and volleyball practice and all those things. And we have this crazy life too. So I think that humans in general are overscheduled as of now. And you have to be able to find yourself and allow yourself to be okay with not be okay with making mistakes, be okay with your shortcomings. I think that when I did that session, it actually was something I did for myself a long time ago. I was really stressed out in my office, and this is how the session was born. I was stressed out. I was sitting in my office and I was thinking, okay, I have so much going on. And I just started to make my to-do list, Then I started to cry. I said, my to-do list is so long. I'm never going to die. I'm never going to be done with this because my to-do list is, and then I'm thinking, okay. And I'm looking at the time that I have, and I'm looking at the list that I have, and I'm thinking, I am never going to be able to do this. So, so then I said, okay. Back then I was a little more type A personality. So I organized my list into what I can do now, what I can do later. And then at the end of the day, I just realized I can't do any of it. And I ended up playing with my kids that day. I didn't get anything done. And it was a really good day. So when the folks came to my session, I kind of wanted to bring that to them, and one of the first things we did at the start of that session was I had them draw a picture of a bucket and write all the things that they want to get done, all the things that stress them out, even the good things that cause you to put it all in that bucket, just so you can kind of look at it and see what exactly you're stressing about, and I know that there's a lot of,
and maybe we could set the bucket on fire sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah,
the bucket, you're just ready to let it go, right?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, exactly. Dump it out, set it on fire, whatever you need to do. But it's more of, I think that my game changer was I had to realize there was no possible way I was going to get everything done, and I had to be okay with that because you're not going to, and I'm okay with my classroom is not, my bins are not organized perfectly, and my desk is clean one time a day when you walk in the morning, and then I clean it at night. So when I walk in the morning, it is cleaned off. That's it. I try not to worry about those things. And, when you think about self-care and you think about take a few minutes to yourself or get this app and I'm thinking those are great things, but I'm really bad at that. So one thing I said was, let's do 20 seconds, not 30. 30 is like the whole half of the second hand, can't do that. Let's just do 20. And when you realize how long 20 seconds is and you can breathe for 20 seconds, you're like, yeah, I could give myself, okay, I can do this. Like, I can't take that 5-minute breathe, thing. I don't have time for that, but 20 seconds is a lot just to, okay, I got it again, and it's all little things like that, accept your shortcomings too. I mean, I had to figure out that I was really bad with organization, but I was really good with taking bad organization and putting it out there in a positive way, like those sorts of things. But my coworkers, for example, like when it came down to when I first got to Camden, I had just come from the district office because I left and I worked in technology for a while, and they needed math teachers. So I went back to the classroom. So I got there and I hadn't written lesson plans in a while. And so the teacher across the hall was like, I'll do the plans if you want to make some of those choice boards and some other things that you've made already. And I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to do that. So we shared. And sharing is another very hard thing with teachers because teaching is a very isolated profession. And like I'm old. My first copies when I started teaching were on a Rizzo machine. It was like the blue copies.
No, but people, when you talk about the machines, even the overhead, the youngins don't know what you're talking about. They smile politely, but they have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't even realize the stress of you smeared the marker with your hand.
Right. Or you go into the grocery store after school and the whole side of your hand is blue.
Yes.
They can't relate to that experience.
They cannot.
And you're like, that is my blue marker. I work today. Oh yes.
Yeah. And I remember how fun it was when dry erase boards got put in the classroom and all of a sudden we could write with colors and all those things. But, I would always lose the markers. As a matter of fact, when I first started teaching, I bought a waitressing apron and I used to wear it because I would lose everything. And I do things like I have a ticket economy, even in my middle school classroom, I have a ticket economy and stuff. And I would lose things. but when I was first teaching, I'd have pockets full of highlighters, and anything a kid said, I'm like, I got it, like I got that. But
it sounds to me, it sounds to me like you're very focused on maintaining perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what it sounds.
I think that's true.
What do you think? What do you think is wrong with the perspective that some of our colleagues have in place that makes them feel a certain kind of way? That's really, frankly, not healthy.
Well, I think that I don't know. I think it's probably reality. I mean, we have teachers, people from the outside of education look in, and they don't realize that teachers are analyzing test scores, and they're grouping students, and they're looking at students as individuals to see where their gaps are and how they can fill the gaps and make sure they're on grade level. And especially with the pandemic, we have kids that have not been in school at all, and kids that did very diligent. The gaps are huge, and the histories are all different, and all these things going on. I just think that we put too much on ourselves as educators to be able to take apart that data and use it the right way, and be able to prove it. A good example is something great that they're doing in Kershaw County is they have separated some students into tiers just so we can focus on them and make sure that gaps are closing in the right way. And it's a great program. I see some teachers getting so wrapped up in making sure that they have their paperwork ready and they have this and just the fact that, well, when I meet with the woman that does the tiers, I tell her, I go, name the student. I said, I'll write down whatever you need me to do, but I'm always behind in that, and it's okay. But let's go through the list. I'll tell you exactly where they are, because I spend that time with the students, and 2 years ago, I taught the blended learning PD at our district, and it's what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm going to do this, like flipped classroom. I can't wait to get back into algebra classroom. That's what I'm going to do. And it was horrible failure, because in Kershaw County, some kids have really shoddy internet. Some people have really fabulous internet. So I realized, even as a math teacher, I can't give homework. It's not fair. So just things like that if you can accept it and just move on, that this just is not going to happen, just stop. And even if your report isn't done all the way, you can still, you have the information within you. When you meet with them, the box is still going to be checked. The person in charge of that program is not upset with you. You're doing exactly what they want you to. If the page is not pretty, if the data isn't, organized and color coded and printed, it's still okay. So I think that those things are really important. I just, and believe me, the last slide of my presentation was like, don't ask. I still don't have my sanity. I'm not real good at this.
This was supposed to be about saving sanity, and I don't have 100% time. Don't ask me any questions. I love it.
Yeah, I did. I said, because you know what? For a second, I said, don't think I'm some kind of expert in that. I'm just telling you, I'm human. There's a lot of things that I can take a breath on in the classroom, and you know what? Forget it. I know. Just this week, a little boy had a water bottle, and he had set it on the floor, and a girl walked by and knocked it over, and he was like, when he came to my desk, he was like wringing his hands, and I go, what is wrong? And he goes, do you still have paper towels in here? And I go, yeah. I said, what's wrong? He goes, it's okay. I'll just show me where the paper towels are. And I look over, and he walks over, and I can see this puddle of water. And this is an eighth grader. This is someone who was stressed, but and a student that doesn't have a lot of friends, and he didn't want any attention to himself. So I walked over, I go, let's fix it. And I took the roll of paper towels, and I just, they were the generic ones. So I just unrolled it as it went to the floor, and the water was soaking into the paper towel. And I'm like, check it out. The paper towel's like getting bigger. I wonder if we could weigh that, how it would expand. Do you think it would weigh more? And I was trying to change the subject from that, and to the point that we left the paper towels on the floor for the entire class. We didn't pick them up till the end. Like, it was okay. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just leave them. Forget it. Let's finish doing this problem now, and that kind of thing.
So if you had to sum up your message that you want people to take away from spending a little time with you, what's the big takeaway from Dr. McIntyre?
The big takeaway, I think, know where your own shortcomings are and allow somebody's collaboration to fill them in. realize that when you go home, you have this crazy life, but so does everybody else. And nobody expects perfection. So don't expect perfection from yourself. You know, you're doing a good job, and it's okay to take a breath and sit back and, you know, take that 20 seconds for yourself. I'm telling you, 20 seconds is life changing. So, you know, take that 20 seconds
20
for yourself.
seconds is longer than we think, baby. 20
It
seconds.
is. It is. I know when we sat at that session, I go, okay, just for a second, I want you to do absolutely nothing. And then I paused for a second and I was like, okay, I know one of you is thinking. So whatever you're thinking about, whatever's going on after this, stop doing that. You can't do that. It's not going to work. And, you know, and they laughed a little bit. And then I said, just don't try not to think about anything. Like picture like a blank board in, you know, in your mind's eye, ready for 20 seconds. And it was funny because you're in a room full of teachers and there were a few that were wiggling like just after 20 seconds. Because we teachers, we are bad. We're hard to, because we're always on fast forward, always trying to do 100 things. So I think that it's important to know that, you know, the best you can do is the very best you can do. So just
I love it.
don't worry about it.
All right. So now my favorite question of the entire podcast, and then I get to let you go. So if you had to make a recommendation for, and doesn't have to be professional based, so as something that you're liking, for book, podcast, movie, TV show, what's your go-to? What can you recommend to our listeners?
I do know that during the session, I referenced that Eat, Pray, Love a lot, and only because of the one part where she was in Italy and they talked about il dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. And I brought it up when they did that in the 20 seconds where I am the same person could never drop everything and do like she did and just live free. I could never in a million years do that. I just couldn't live with myself. I put too much on myself to do that. But just not the entire feature, but that one section where they're actually having a conversation in a barber shop, and the Italians were laughing and said, "You Americans never want to take a break," and it's so true. It's just so true. It, you know, and they're talking about how we Americans feel like we need to earn it to take the break. Just take a break, just, you know, and I thought about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is so true.